If they intervened, the balance would tilt, and the cycle of creation and destruction would be forever disrupted. With the creator gods silent and the enforcer gone, the elder gods became the highest authority in the universe. They were weary, broken from the war, their divine essence depleted. And so, for centuries, they rested, their power slowly returning, their wounds healing. Time passed, and as they regained their strength, they found themselves trapped within a paradox they had never considered. They had been created to fight, to hold the line against the anti-creator's unmaking. But the war was over. Their purpose, the very reason for their existence, had vanished. For the first time in eternity, the elder gods were lost. Yet even gods are not immune to the influence of the source. Every being in the universe carried a spark of its essence, the eternal drive to create, to grow, to experience. The elder gods were no different. And so, in their divine boredom, they turned to something new. If war could no longer be their purpose, then they would forge something greater, a civilization that would rival the heavens themselves. But they soon discovered that creation was not as simple as they had thought. Though they were formed from the divine essence of the creator gods, they did not possess the same abilities. They were fragments of something greater, bound by laws they did not fully understand. They tried again and again to shape life from their own power, but each attempt failed. Their creations were empty vessels, beings with no spark, no will of their own. Desperation led them down another path. If they could not create as the creator gods had, then they would forge life through other means. They devised a ritual, a binding of their own divine essence with the raw forces of the cosmos. And at first it seemed to work. Their creations walked, spoke, and carried divine power. But something was wrong. The balance was off. Slowly, their creations began to change. Their forms stretched, twisted, became monstrous. Their divine essence warped. Their minds unraveling into something unrecognizable. They grew into giants, their bodies unstable, their power uncontrollable. The elder gods named them Nekwama, the rejected ones. The Nekwama were a mistake, one too great to be ignored. They were powerful, but they were dangerous, unpredictable. Left unchecked, they would bring ruin to everything the elder gods had built. And so, with no other choice, the gods sealed them away, locked them in unbreakable prisons, buried them in the depths of forgotten realms, ensuring that their failed creations would never walk free again. But they did not stop. Their first attempt had failed, but the elder gods would not abandon their ambitions. They searched for a way to perfect their methods, and at last, they found it. There was a moment, a rare celestial alignment, when certain bodies in the cosmos converged in harmony. During this moment, the power of creation was at its peak, and so, under the light of the stars, the first generation of gods was born. These were different. These were stable. They were true gods, not failed creations. And from them came the second generation, and then the third. The universe had entered a new era, one of divine rule, of expansion, of endless creation. And yet, even as the elder gods revealed in their success, something else was happening. Though the creator gods remained distant, their hands had not left the fabric of reality entirely. They had turned their attention elsewhere, to a single planet. A world untouched by divine law. A world where life could thrive beyond the reach of gods. And so, from the will of the creator gods, the planet was shaped. The seas were formed, the mountains raised, the sky given breath. But a world without a guiding force would not survive. It needed caretakers, beings to oversee its growth. And so, Allah was sent. The divine feminine, the force of creation itself, became the essence of the land. It was she who breathed life into the soil, who gave form to the rivers, who nurtured the first seeds of existence. She was the mother of the world, but she was not alone. Alongside her, the divine masculine descended, the force of order and storm, Amadioha. Together, they shaped the foundation of a world that would one day be known as Alkebulan. And so, the silence of the creator gods ended. Messages were sent to the elder gods, distant but clear. Their role was not yet complete. They would oversee this new world, ensure its growth, and protect its balance. It should have been simple, but power begets ambition, and with responsibility comes conflict. The elder gods, once the protectors of creation, would soon become its greatest threat. They were warriors, not caretakers. They were gods of destruction, not peace. The war against the anti-creator had given them purpose, and now, in the absence of an enemy, they turned upon themselves. A great war was coming. One not of gods against chaos, but of gods against gods. For in the hearts of divine beings, the hunger for power never truly fades. And so began the first struggle for dominion, and the echoes of war stirred once more. The gods waged war, but the mortals thrived. They built their cities, cultivated their lands, and expanded their knowledge, unaware that above them, the divine played a different game. What had started as a duty, protecting and guiding humanity, had transformed into something else. The gods discovered something strange, something intoxicating. The more they descended, performing extraordinary feats and granting favors, the more the mortals worshipped them. And with that worship came something even more valuable than devotion: power. At first it was a subtle shift, an offering here, a prayer whispered in desperation. But as time passed, the gods began to notice something remarkable. When the mortals cried out for aid, pouring their faith into their voices, they unknowingly sent fragments of their own essence into the heavens. Prayer was not just words, it was an exchange. And those gods who were worshipped the most became stronger than ever before. It was an awakening, one that changed the very structure of divinity itself. The gods who once ruled together now eyed each other with suspicion, each realizing that dominion over mortals meant dominion over power itself. So they divided the world into kingdoms of faith, territories bound not by land, but by worship. Thus, the pantheons were born. The Igbo pantheon, the rulers of earth and sky, their spirits woven into the rivers, their names whispered in the wind. The Yoruba pantheon, the keepers of fate and balance, their Orisha walking among mortals, shaping destinies with unseen hands. The Akan pantheon, the voices of war and kingship, who stood beside rulers and led armies into battle. The Zulu pantheon.
Great if I didn't exist in the
Peace and love, peace and love, and love divine. How I do. Assalam, assalam, assalam. Islam, shalom, and shalom. We have made it to the temple hour of the 6th hour. And we're going to get right into the understanding of the temple. So, understanding the presence of Allah is to be found first in such an academy before any temple or other sacred site. Six, al-Baqā, being the name given to the city by Abraham on account of its first purpose and shape of the temple. 7. A circular temple, a place of reckoning and respect of the cycle of the heavens. The first and most sacred temple in honor of Allah. A great circular timepiece that through the light of the sun and the light of the moon did record time for thousands of years, using the shadow and shape of the temple called Ka-Bakar, or the doorway of the spirit of Allah. 18. Cursing the name of Allah, closing the doorway to heaven by replacing a square room upon the foundations of an ancient circular temple. 22. To curse the great city of learning, Uthman has now called it Mecca and erected a square temple to his moon goddess upon the ruins of the most sacred circular altar of Allah. 29. The Christians build great temples to their belief, hoping this will instill favor with the divine creator. The maniacs build elaborate temples in the hope that it will be pleasing the dark forces in their hatred of Allah. 33. The earth is already the greatest temple to Allah. The greatest temple, therefore, is one that respects the space, that sees the stars, that allows the moon and the sun. 15. The people who still in part refuse to return to Allah at the destruction of the temple by the Nazarene followers of Jesus, who then formed the horrible heresy of mania and following Manes and claimed duality of the universe. 34. The false Persian religion of Mithra, to whom all the legions swore, was destroyed upon the destruction of the temple of Mithra at Jerusalem by the Nazarenes. 8. Beautiful Antioch, home of the great temple of Hagia Sophia. 23. Do not harm or touch a Christian temple or text. 20. Finally, the most sacred place is a temple or a place of worship. 8. The Kaaba shall be rebuilt as the circular temple to Allah, and the idols of the Umayyad banished forever. So as we see, the most sacred place is the temple or place of worship. So let's go into worship. 9 for these are impostors who worship not Allah, but serve demon gods who pretend to be the divine. Eight, when he worships the wickedness of the Aryans. 3, all praise and worship be to Allah and no other. What 10? What ignorance be that the creator of all things would worship the destruction of that which he creates and loves. All praise and worship be to Allah and no other. The Persian is obsessed in sorcery and magic. Yet the moneylenders and merchants who pretend to worship Ra, Manes, and demon gods. All praise and worship be to Allah and no other. All praise and worship be to Allah and no other. 7, it is you alone we worship. All praise and worship be to Allah, Allah, and no other. 13, that they gave the moon certain names and be it worshipped. Yet we have the knowledge of the ancients to know the moon as heavenly and not as a god or goddess. 17 and 18. The merchants and moneylenders have purchased these nomadic people and have tricked them by saying they too worship the goddess moon. 18. Verily, the false merchant worships only one deity, being money. (41, 42). One learned man is harder on the devil than 1,000 ignorant worshippers. 66 to 69. Any saying which claims that in Absalom knowledge and science is a sin, and in ignorance is a virtue, is a wicked lie by someone who worships demons, pretending to be God, and one who cloak themselves as Muslims, but worship anarchy. 10. Only reject the ignorance and stupidity of the Umayyad, who worship the moon as a deity. Truly, there are no more ignorant and disrespectful to Allah than those who ignore the day only to worship the night. One learned man is harder against wickedness than 1,000 ignorant worshippers. The pursuit of knowledge is a divine commandment for every Musalim. 40. Allah will direct them to the path of paradise. Verily, the superiority of a learned man over an ignorant worshiper is like that of the full moon over all the stars. Cast them 72, cast them out as impostors who would deny the importance of knowledge and sensible reason for all Muslims. This is an obligation to all members of a holy place of worship of Salam. All praise and worship be to Allah, Allah, and no other. All praise and worship be to all and no other. All angels are part of heaven and serve the voice of Allah. 8. Do not fear them, nor worship them as their own deities. 11. Any preacher or scripture that says Allah shall burn and torture some of his children for eternity, then these are the sayings of the evil men who worship demons, not all are. Hate is a sure way to hell. Not even Allah can save a man who fills his heart with hate. All praise and worship be to Allah and no other. That give praise to Allah when in prosperity. Did you respect knowledge, or did you worship ignorance? (27) The light of Sufi I have attained, and in the light I live. 28. Do not worship me as the last or the first. 19. Thus the altar of the ancients between heaven and earth, since the time of the first civilizations, and so fitting an honorable peace and an honorable place of worship of Allah. 21. Not only a pile of rocks in worship of the moon goddess of the the Umayyad, and a symbol of the worship of ignorance. You see that? The symbol of the worship of ignorance. All praise and worship be to all and no other. '18. Thus, the Persians who hate Allah, who hate all of creation, do still practice the sacrifice of animals and young children. 19. They do for power and control, not knowing not the true origin of such practice. 20. Nor the true name or nature of the demons to which they worship. 10. The exiled Pharaoh who was betrayed by his own people, who chose the Romans of the swamp to make king and worship animal and human sacrifice under the symbol of the ram. All praise and worship be to all law and no other. 13. The people who lost their faith in all and cursed all gods, and who upon gaining their freedom split into groups with the former priests and scribes, beginning to worship lesser gods, demons, and spirits. 6. Those who some call the Chaldeans and the Aryans. 4. Let the truth be now revealed concerning the Persians. Those who some call the Chaldeans, the Aryans, those who others call the Mithraeans, the Judeans. 8. The exiles of the false pharaohs who worshipped the ram. The kings that ruled worshiping darkness, black magic, black magic, that ruled cursing all the name of all law. The founders of the false religion of myth, Ra. The rulers under Darius that created the false scriptures of myth, Ra. The founders of the false religion of Judaism in worshiping the Roman emperor as Lucifer. 18. The creation of a faith of darkness and worship of demons under Arda Shah, and then his grandson, Baba Ra. 19. Better a man worship a cloud than say one prayer to Jerusalem. 20. Verily, any man beguiled by the Persians to worship Jerusalem is not a true Musalim. All praise and worship be to Allah. 12. Thus, Christians who worship Jesus Christ as a God are in error. This is against the teachings of Allah. All praise and worship be to Allah. All praise and worship be to Allah. A man who gives thanks because he seeks to do the best is beloved than 1,000 who worship in false piety. 9. Give thanks to those who help, but never worship a man as a god. As we hit this one, 20. Finally, the most sacred place is a temple or place of worship. For these are impostors who worship not Allah, but serve demon gods who pretend to be the divine. Allah is almighty. Allah is the creator of all things. He hates not one of his creations. Any saying that contradicts this truth is a wicked lie. Seven. Allah is indeed masculine, yet Allah is also feminine. 6. All is all numbers, whether it be real numbers or spiritual numbers. Allah is indeed the master of numbers. 8. Allah is the ultimate therapeutic of the soul. 7. Allah is the greatest of all poets. 6. Allah is the one and true and only divine creator. 8. Allah is the divine creator of all things, the collection of all words, ideas, and form. There is nothing greater. 5. Allah is all seasons and all signs. 7. All is all cultures and all peoples. 8. The path to Allah is many. 7. All is all time and places. 7. Allah is the study of life as well as life itself. 8. Allah is the learning of love and respect of learning. 7. Thus, Allah is the scholar and teacher of humility, hindsight, and balance. 10. A heretic against Allah is one who hates the words of the divine creator, being all wisdom. 7. The presence of Allah is to be found first in such an academy before any temple or other sacred site. 4. Allah is the light I have attained, and in the light I live. 14. An educated mind knows the key to life and harmony with the will of Allah is balance. 9. Allah is volition. 38. The greatest crime against Allah is not the one who kills others in the name of the divine creator, but the scholar who wrote such lies and the preacher who gives life to such evil. Expel them. 12. Expel them immediately as an impostor against I, Salam. For only Allah is judge. 4, 3 and 4. All petition and thanks be to Allah and no other. Verily, even Allah is powerless to stop it. 5. Lest all creation end. 28. Yet Allah is more than stone in a city. 32. Allah is every stone, every piece of marble, every piece of earth, as well as every living thing. "15. Allah is pleased by the sacred smoke, as this respects his covenant with Abraham." The best of neighbors near Allah is the best man in his own neighborhood. 52. Any saying which claims a prayer involving a curse is proper and pleasing to Allah is false. No prayer that curses is acceptable to the divine. Allah is almighty. Allah is the creator of all things. 4. Allah is ever forgiving and merciful. 16. Allah is just, and justice is to honor the living law of the creator of all the heavens. 18. Knowing that the justice of Allah never sleeps. 8. Allah is the most perfect witness. 22. An agreement before Allah is and has always been by word and deed, not by paper. 41. Behold, Allah is every language and the master of all language. 42. Allah is the Father of all wisdom and its source. 12. Allah is the ultimate narrator. 8. Allah is the world and all within the world is part of Allah. Whoever is kind to his creatures, Allah is kind to him. Behold, is both the way of life and the journey of death. Seven. Allah is the loving but firm parent. Is the forgiving parent. Allah is the respectful parent. 12. Allah is never the absent father. 15. Allah is the greatest of all parents. 44. Any teacher or scholar that claims Allah is pleased with large families, for those that live in poverty? Seize them and rid yourselves of such evil impostors. For leaders who encourage the poor to bring hungry mouths into this world seek to breed ignorance and fear for their own ends. 7. Thus, Allah is innocent and inculpable of willing and deliberate evil. 7. Thus, Allah is ever present. 6. So be it that Allah is all knowledge. 95. Science proves to all Muslims that Allah is pleased by questioning minds that know how to ask the right questions. 6. All is all languages, all words, all meaning. 7. Allah is the nature of logic and the concept. So there we have it. Read from the divine writ, from the divine constitution, from our divine rights and authority. This is KOS Community, Temple and Academy. Welcome home, family. From the community of the Lord, from the Lord of our community. Salam, salam, salam. Islam, shalom, and shalom.